Hi everybody, it is meteorologist Terry Swails here on tswails.com, and this is your weather briefing for Thursday, and it's kind of a shocking one considering what's expected to come down the pike here in the next several days. Normally when you get to July, the cold air starts to retreat, and we see less and less of that as it moves up into Canada. And as a result of that, the weather patterns get kind of sluggish, and we get into what's known as the dog days of summer. But there's nothing doggy about this forecast, let me tell you, and if anything, the weather patterns are going to accelerate in the next few days, and that is going to mean some pretty unsettled weather in the Midwest over the weekend, and then next week, wow, do we ever have some cool temperatures to talk about. But before we get there, I did want to show you some good news here. This is the rain that's fallen over the past 2 days, and you'll notice the absence of it over the heart of the Midwest, not much around Iowa or Illinois and into northern Missouri, and those are areas that have been hard hit with flooding and heavy rains, so nice to see a little bit of dry weather around that part of the Midwest. But as we go to the satellite, the return flow of moisture on the backside of our high pressure that's brought us this pleasant weather the past few days is already showing up with clouds that are extending from Minnesota right back into the Rockies. So the moisture return is underway, and there is going to be plenty of moisture in the atmosphere here by the time we get to Saturday. In fact, this is a pretty dramatic change. Here's the water vapor that is forecast around the Midwest today. And you can see it's pretty dry. There's just not a lot of moisture from Iowa and Illinois up into Canada and the Great Lakes. But watch what happens again as we go out 2 days. Now you're looking at Saturday, and all of a sudden the water vapor has jumped up to 2 or more inches from about Chicago back to the Quad Cities and right along Interstate 80 through most of central Iowa. So when you see precipitable water values of around 2 inches or more, that means that the atmosphere is acting like a sponge. There's just a ton of water up there ready to be squeezed out. And if you get any forcing, something that can develop showers and thunderstorms, those are likely to put out some heavy rainfall. And I am more and more concerned now about a potential heavy rain event in some portion of the Midwest. What we're looking at here is the high resolution NAM, and it does indicate some rain totals of over 4.5 inches up there in extreme northeastern Illinois and along the Wisconsin border, and significant rain extends all the way back into central Iowa. The GFS, which I have seen but do not have here on the graphic, is a little bit further west and south with that rain, and it takes it right along the I-80 corridor. So we don't have the exact positioning determined yet, but I'm thinking there's probably going to be some rains this weekend that amount to perhaps 2 to 4 inches somewhere over the central Midwest, and that is certainly not welcome, and it could aggravate some of the flooding or even create some flash flooding in locations if that develops, as I'm starting to see indications of today. We'll be watching that closely. Why the rains? Well, as we said, there's going to be moisture return to the Midwest, and the storm track is also going to be cutting west to east right across Iowa and northern Illinois. So that's the area that should see repeated rounds of showers and thunderstorms once they get going, and that's the type of situation that can lay out those heavy rains we talked about. So again, we've got the active storm track in here, disturbance are rippling along that, generating the rain that we're talking about in the weekend forecast. But now look what happens as we get towards next Tuesday. All of a sudden the jet stream has just taken on an entirely different configuration. Cold air has dropped southward out of Canada, and we have a tremendous vortex of a pool of cool air that's centered right over Lake Michigan. Now I'm telling you, this is exceptionally unusual for this time of year, and you can see the air is being drawn right out of southeastern Canada where it is nice and fresh this time of year. And so I'm expecting temperatures to be way below normal starting next week, and we could see a day in there around Tuesday or Wednesday when highs do not even get out of the 60s, and a normal high this time of year is about 86 to 87 degrees around my immediate area. Here you're looking at the temperature anomalies for Tuesday. Boy, these are off the charts here. These readings you're looking at here are 25 degrees below what is typical, and that's not just in one little local area. You can see that extends all the way from the Great Lakes states right back into the high plains. So a very expansive area of cool air for this time of year. That is really, really unusual, and it will probably produce some record cold around the Midwest next week. And now I'm taking you out on the jet stream here at 500 millibars, 8 days. And you're looking at the jet coming in from the northwest, a strong northwest flow with some embedded disturbances in that. and that is going to continue to tap into that cool air in Canada and send regular bouts of it through the Midwest. Here now is our long-range temperature forecast going out 45 days. Now look at that. Most of the eastern two-thirds of the nation looking at below normal temperatures, and this goes almost all the way out through the rest of August. So I'm thinking the pattern is now pretty well locked in for the summer, and while we'll see some occasional bouts of rain, I think the main thing that's going to be shocking to most people is just the lack of heat this year. Temperature is going to be running pretty cool here as we go through the next 4 to 6 weeks. One thing that will happen, though, is after the big rains of the weekend, this northwesterly flow once again sends dry air back into the Midwest, and on the water vapor here, you can see how it has really dried out. Precipitable water extremely low for this time of year, so no humidity in the air, guaranteeing you that much, and showers and thunderstorms of consequence will be pushed way down to the Gulf of Mexico. So to sum it up, active this weekend, showers and storms, some heavy rain, even the possibility of severe storms, and then we turn unseasonably cool next week and get rid of the humidity and the rainfall of any consequence. And that is your weather briefing for this Thursday. Thanks for visiting tswails.com, and as I always say, roll weather.